Hey guys, Bowserkins here for another video. Today we're going to be talking about first impressions with the Guardian Druid. This is going to be my main in Dragonflight, at least to start out, especially since it's the only level 70 that I have so far at the beginning of the expansion. I want to say as a kind of a starter for the video that I have definitely been sick, really sick for the last week. So a little bit of a difference in the voice. If I cough over the mic, I apologize. I'll try to edit it out if possible. But yeah, first impressions for Guardian Druid. Let's go ahead and get that started. First of the talent tree, I think this is kind of where we need to start because the talent trees for respective specializations doesn't really matter what role you are. This system has been fantastic so far. It's adding diversity, especially with some specs having two, three different builds they can go with. Unfortunately, not the case for Guardian Druid, but that will not deter me by any means. I think that it's been a lot of fun um, kind of messing around with different little builds to see where I can squeeze out damage or where the defense is coming from in certain situations. Really cool to try out. So this is kind of what my build has been so far. A big investment in Ursox, or excuse me, a big investment in Iron Fur, a big investment in Moonfire damage, Incarn cooldown reduction, stuff like that. You've got after the wildfire producing a whole lot of healing for the group. This has been really cool. So my first impressions for Guardian Druid definitely fantastic at off healing the group. When you look at selfish tank specs like Blood DK, Prot Warrior to an extent, Vengeance Demon Hunter, they don't have the off healing that Guardian Druid does. I find that invaluable, especially in groups where you're kind of trying to get a lot of damage out of the healer in your group. Having all that off healing will provide you with more opportunities for your healer to do some damage, which is great. Self sustain is near the top. I mean, obviously, you're never going to get close to Blood DK self sustain. That's kind of the whole point of playing Blood DK is all the self healing. But Guardian Druid is a close secondary option. I mean, there's Vengeance DH and there's Guardian Druid right behind it, providing a ton of self healing. So, gotta love Guardian Druid this expansion. It's been a lot of fun. On the left side here, there's some really cool talents as well. The likes of Well Honed Instincts, of course, being a conduit in Shadowlands, making its return, providing you with a frenzied regen every 90 seconds when you drop below health. One thing I don't like, though, as we go over some of the negatives of Guardian Druid, and there aren't a ton of them. I mean, Guardian Druid is a pretty well rounded spec. Some of the negatives to this spec, though, is the choice node here is making you choose between Incap Roar and Mighty Bash. I would have much preferred if I could get both of these things. So that's kind of a downer. I would have liked it if they just got rid of Ursine Vigor here and just gave you the option of Incap Roar here. And then you could take Incap or you could take Mighty Bash at this point here. That would have been really nice, but ultimately not what they ended up doing. Um, you can go down the right side here and get range and typhoon, but you have to go through what it's essentially three dead points plus 2 points in astral influence just to get typhoon. So it's a 6 point investment total in order to acquire typhoon. That's a very big pain point for Guardian Druids. I really do wish that this was changed. Really, just connecting Nurturing Instinct to Astral Influence would lessen the pain of that significantly, but unfortunately, that is not what they've chosen to do. Other downsides, the left side of the tree over here, uh, from an offensive and defensive standpoint, in almost every situation, just weaker. It just is. The Moonfire, the amount of work that Moonfire is doing for Guardian Druid so far in Dragonflight is so incredibly strong that trying to invest in the likes of Flashing Claws for extra thrashes, Earth Warden, Ursox Fury, Untamed Savagery giving you 25% increased damage to thrash. None of this is actually worth it because of how much damage and defense Moonfire is providing you, both in damage reduction and healing that it provides from its damage passively. And then, of course, in order to invest over here on the left, you either have to give up Incarn or Rage of the Sleeper, both of which are extremely powerful. So the left side just lagging behind big time. I would have preferred if like just Pulverize was gone and they put Rend and Tear or Untamed Savagery here, and then something massive at the end, right? That gave you like maybe an Incarn proc, similar to how Restoration does it, where every third Swiftmend or something, you got 9 seconds of your tree Incarn. It'd be really cool if if it gave you like 6 seconds of Bear Incarn, um, or even I mean I think 9 would probably be too powerful, but something related to something that you're doing in order to proc uh, additional Incarn uptime. Would have made this more viable over here on the left side. But as it stands right now, the only situation where the left side is better is if A, you need Dream of Cenarius for off healing, um, which is in itself somewhat unreliable because the cooldown on it is 20 seconds. You can't have this proc more than once every 20 seconds. So it's kind of a niche thing. Um, and then secondarily, if you're pulling mobs so consistently within the dungeon where it doesn't matter how weak Ursoc's Fury is, at this point nerfed down to 30%. If it doesn't matter how weak that is, because the mobs are so huge that it's still providing you with enough survivability. That's rarely the case though, because of how nerfed Ursoc's is at this point. So almost every situation, Moonfire is going to be doing more for you offensively and defensively, which is not ideal and certainly not the situation that I would prefer Guardian to be in at the moment. But it is very strong, and just because Ursoc's Fury is weak now does not mean that they won't buff it in the future to provide a little bit more deviation and talent choices. So that's kind of where it's at the moment. Some deviations here in the talent tree. You could forego all of the Iron Fur investment that I have in Ursoc's Endurance, Layered Mane, and Reinforced Fur, and put that over here on the left side for more damage, both with empowered mauls, haste during berserk, or flashing claws, giving you additional thrashes. That is fine. If you're looking for more damage, especially at the beginning of the season, because of how squishy every tank is going to be, and especially after the 10% damage taken thing comes through, um, and how high the keys are going to be, that me and my group are going to try to be pushing with very bad gear. Um, I'm definitely going to need this additional survivability. But down the road, I could see myself specking into more damage if I need. So, but we'll see. We will see how that goes. Where do I think Guardian Druid falls in this tier, guys? If you were making a tier list, I don't think Guardian Druid's at the bottom by any means. I think that's kind of up there around Vengeance DH and Blood DK. If you're playing either of those two tank specs, you're probably not going to lose a lot from Guardian Druid. Again, its value is tied to its off healing. It doesn't have anything inherently super strong about it outside of that. The off healing is really what you're going to be going for if you're playing Guardian Druid. If you're looking to just bring the spec and not the player. Prot Warrior is probably like the only S tier tank at the moment, but I would say Guardian Druid's right there with Vengeance DH and Blood DK, probably the A tier, right? Like not too far below Prot where you're just trolling if you're not playing Prot Warrior, but um yeah, and then of course Prot Paladin and Brewmaster I think are a little bit lower down, just because of some small concerns with those specs. But the great thing is we don't have any like C, D tier tanks at the beginning of Dragonflight. It may pan out that way if some specs are kind of left in the dark. Brewmaster, I see is probably the most likely of the tank specs that end up behind, just because of how complex they are. I think just the player representation at some point will dwindle because of how difficult it is to optimize yourself in that spec right now. Just the sheer number of buttons that you have. But also, I think that their defense is a little lackluster at the moment comparatively. Right, they're still very tanky, and like I said, you know, there is no C or D tier. Brewmaster is still probably a solid B tier tank, but yeah, they just need to improve a little bit defensively. I think Blizzard is trending in the right direction by giving Brewmaster a little bit more stamina, but I would have liked to see them kind of not hit them as hard with the damage reduction nerf. Like Guardian Druid and all the other tank specs got their 10% damage um taken away basically. That'll be gone tomorrow on Tuesday when we reset for the season start. I would have liked to see Brewmaster actually keep that, or at least 5% damage reduction. I think that would have instantly made them competitive with all the other tank specs from a defensive standpoint. But um, yeah, I digress too much. We're not talking about Brewmaster here. We're talking about Guardian. I think Guardian's pretty strong, guys. If you're looking for an off healer out of your tank role, Guardian Druid's going to do the job. Especially, I mean, if they buff Ursoc's Fury, the Dream of Cenarius carries will be real. I mean, again, every 20 seconds you get a massive regrowth heal on allies. If you're specting the Protector of the Pack over here, it's an even bigger regrowth. Um, you've got Nature's Vigil over here on the left. And this is a 30-second duration every minute and a half, right? Which sometimes if you're pulling correctly, sometimes this can line up with your incarns. And incarn plus Nature's Vigil is just endless healing, because you're just going to be able to endlessly mangle. It does not work with Thrash, so every time you Thrash Nature's Vigil, every global you use on Thrash instead of Mangle or Maul for that matter is wasted. However, in a single target situation, when you're popping Incarn, popping off Mangles constantly with Nature's Vigil up, um, it's going to be like 4, 5, 6K heals for a global on a nearby enemy, or excuse me, on a nearby ally. So, very, very strong off healing for Guardian Druid. That's your bread and butter. And your damage profile is fine. I mean, from what I can tell, Guardian Druid defense is up there with the very best of them. And defensively, especially if you're invested in Iron Fur, very, very strong defensively, especially when you have either Rage of the Sleeper or Incarn up. But even passively, with Iron Fur invested in, you're very, very strong defensively with the likes of Barkskin up every 40 or so seconds. If you're not invested in Iron Fur and you're going for damage, i.e., a vulnerable flesh and tooth and claw in regards to where you're spending your points here into the center. Again, you have to get to the center area somehow, so you either go through Iron Fur or you go through Maul damage. If you go through the Maul damage, yeah, you're going to be doing a lot more single target damage, but you're also going to be very squishy by comparison than if you had taken the Iron Fur. So again, you're plenty tanky within Karn or Rage of the Sleeper. And in those situations, it's great to have the empowered mauls, but I'm worried about times where I don't have either of these up, right? I just like the smoothness and the balance of the Iron Fur. That may change in the future. It very well could. I like damage. Damage is great. Um, so yeah, those are my thoughts on Guardian Druid, guys. If you have any comments, any questions, feedback of any kind, throw them down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, of course. Subscribe to my channel as I try to build this up throughout Dragonflight. It's going to be a great expansion, guys. I have a really good feeling about this season in general, especially with some of the changes they've made to the gear acquisition. I mean, there's so many different things. I might make a video about all the improvements in Dragonflight over Shadowlands. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Look out for my first Mythic Plus video. I'm probably going to be going over Mythic Plus gameplay for Guardian Druid, um, following the first few days of Mythic Plus. Sometime over the weekend, I might download that or upload that video. So look out for that one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.